guys, welcome back to my channel, and in this first video back, what I thought I would do is my favourite film for each year that I've been alive. I remember that trend going around several years back. I never actually made a video on it, but I thought that would be an interesting thing to do. So instead of just a generic, here's some of my favourite films of all time, I thought it would be really interesting to look back on every year I've been alive and give you what my favourite film was for each of those respective years. So without further ado, let's get this started. And 1995, I think I would have to say Before Sunrise. I love Richard Linklater's Before trilogy films. They are probably my favourite romance films of all time. It will always hold a special place in my heart, that first one. 1996, off the top of my head, probably Danny Boyle's Trainspotting. Not one of my personal favourite films of all time, but I do really like that film, and I can't really think of what else came out in 1996 off the top of my head. 1997, Good Will Hunting. One of my favourite films of all time. Matt Damon, Robin Williams. I actually haven't watched it in quite a while. I need to go back and watch it again, but I remember I recently looked at the Robin Williams park bench scene again recently, and such an incredible speech there. Incredible performance from Robin Williams. Best Supporting Actor Oscar. 1998 is going to have to be The Truman Show. One of my favourite Jim Carrey films, and also one of my favourite films of all time. Great film. Love this film. Haven't seen it in quite a while. I need to go back and rewatch it. Going to be coming up on its 30th anniversary soon. Crazy, but yeah, Truman Show. 1999, I mean, good year, but it's going to have to be The Matrix. I mean, one of the best science fiction films ever made. The Wachowskis. I mean, yeah, it has to be The Matrix. 2000, another good year, but it's got to be Ridley Scott's Gladiator. True kind of classical epic. Russell Crowe there as Maximus. Incredible performance from him. So yeah, 2001, it's got to be Amelie. Amelie, one of, if not my favourite film. There's nothing else quite like it. A lot of films I maybe tried to emulate it over the years, but there really is only one Amelie. It's beautiful, quirky, eccentric little French film, and I absolutely love it. 2002, I'm going to kind of cheat here and just say Lord of the Rings. I know Fellowship was 2001, Return of the King was 2003, but Two Towers was 2002, so I'm just going to count Lord of the Rings as one and say, yeah, obviously I've got to put Lord of the Rings on this list. 2003, I think I will go with School of Rock, Richard Linklater. Love this film back in the day, still love it now, really holds up. Another one of those films, like a kind of Back to the Future, that just never gets old. You can just watch it over and over again and it just always puts a smile on your face. 2004, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Another Jim Carrey film, quite different from The Truman Show this. More kind of subdued and understated, more, you know, getting into the character's psyche. Him and Kate Winslet, great in this movie. Definitely recommend checking out if you haven't seen it already, Eternal Sunshine. 2006, it's got to be Pan's Labyrinth, another one of my personal favourite films of all time. Still, I think, Guillermo del Toro's best film. Just such a wonderful, kind of hauntingly captivating, kind of fantasy war drama of sorts. Going to be celebrating its 20th anniversary later this year. Cannot wait to see that again in the cinema. 2007, it's got to be Hot Fuzz. You know, got to put an Edgar Wright film on here, and Hot Fuzz is probably still my favourite film of his off the top of my head. I remember being obsessed with it back in the day. We used to just watch it over and over again. So, Hot Fuzz. 2008, got to be The Dark Knight, I guess. I mean, got to put a comic book movie on here. Dark Knight, probably still the best. One of Christopher Nolan's best films. A comic book movie that transcends the medium of just being about comic book characters. It's just a really great kind of crime saga in its own right. 2009, I'm going to go with 500 Days of Summer. The rom-com with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel. More of an unconventional kind of rom-com this. But I really like the film, so yeah. 2010, gotta be Inception. Probably still my favourite Christopher Nolan film. It was definitely right up there. And Inception is just a film that it was really the first big kind of like blockbuster film of its ilk that really opened my mind to what a director could do with a film like this, that a director could make a big budget blockbuster film and make it smart, you know, and not dumb it down for its audience. And I just remember it like it was both this and Avatar that really got me into like wanting to, you know, study film and become a filmmaker. 2011, gotta be Drive, I would imagine. Ryan Gosling, Nicholas Winding Refn. Watched this again recently and it's so good. I'm not like the biggest Nicholas Winding Refn fan in the world, but Drive is just my kind of thing. Love the soundtrack. Ryan Gosling's great. It's got that kind of like neo-noir vibe to it, so yeah. 2012, more of an outside the box pick here, and with Life of Pi. I remember this is a film that really kind of resonated with me when I first saw it, and there was a lot of great films that came out in 2012, a lot of quite different films, but Life of Pi was the one that stuck with me the most and had the biggest impact on me on an emotional level. And I haven't actually watched it in quite a while, but I do remember really loving it at the time. 2013, I think this film technically didn't get a wider release until 2014, but I'm going to count it as 2013 and say Snowpiercer, based on the French graphic novel, I believe, and Bong Joon-ho, before he went on to do Parasite, which he got, you know, massive acclaim for, winning Oscars across the board, but Snowpiercer was the first film of his that I saw that I just absolutely loved. More of a post-apocalyptic science fiction thriller of sorts, and yeah, love that film so much. 2014, it's got to be Boyhood for me. Another great year for film. So many great films came out in 2014, but Boyhood was the one that resonated with me the most. I was able to really relate to the character of Mason. I also haven't seen this film in quite a while, but it's a film that really stuck with me, and I really appreciated how great of a job Richard Linklater did with that film. 2015, it's got to be Inside Out. I've got to at least have one animated film on this list, and Inside Out, I remember, just floored me at the time. I also loved Inside Out 2 from a few years ago, but that first Inside Out just was a film that really moved me and really just got me kind of thinking about the world and thinking about my own mind in just a completely different way, and love that film so much. 2016, I've got to be true to myself and say La La Land. I mean, I love Arrival. I remember it being a tricky decision for me choosing between those two films, and I am more of a science fiction fan, but La La Land is a film that I just really loved. I had a really fond memories of watching that at the London Film Festival 10 years ago. Can't believe that's 10 years now, but yeah, bloody hell. Not typically the biggest fan of musicals in the world, but La La Land just really worked for me. I loved how it was like, on one hand, the classical Hollywood musical, but also felt very fresh and modern at the same time. Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, always great together, so yeah. 2017, I've got to say Blade Runner 2049, another Ryan Gosling film. Denis Villeneuve, who also did Arrival, really knocked it out of the park with the sequel to Blade Runner. Love the original, still probably prefer the original, but he did a great job with this follow-up. 2018, another science fiction film, but more of a heady kind of psychological trip of a film in Alex Garland's Annihilation. Annihilation wasn't a film for everyone, but it really worked for me. More heady, more trippy, but I love films that really kind of like mess with you and really kind of get you thinking, and I thought it was really good. 2019, it's got to be Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Obviously, Parasite, but I have to be true to myself, and Portrait of a Lady on Fire was a film that I just absolutely adored. Both Portrait of a Lady on Fire and Parasite are masterpieces, but Portrait of a Lady on Fire, I just absolutely fell in love with that film. I found it captivating, I found it mesmerising, just a really just beautiful film. 2020, I'm going to go with Shannon Murphy's directorial debut Babyteeth, something quite different, outside the box compared to the other films on this list, but I remember also that being a film that really resonated with me. A smaller film, but still very emotional. 2021, I'm going to go with Rose Glass's also directorial debut in Saint Maud. Not typically the biggest fan of horror. I do prefer more kind of psychological horror films, more like kind of psychological thrillers that also happen to be horror films. And Saint Maud, I thought, was just a stunning achievement. Rose Glass's directorial debut, and I feel like she just knocked it out of the park. I just was just in awe of this film, and it just really blew me away. 2022 is got to be Everything Everywhere All at Once, maybe the cliche pick, but I think it swept up across the board at the Oscars for a reason, and that's because it just was just really great. Michelle Yeoh in that lead role, so happy she won the Oscar for that because she's great and really deserved it. Ki Hu Kwan as well. And yeah, I love the Daniels previous film Swiss Army Man, but not a whole lot of people love that, but everybody did seem to love Everything Everywhere All at Once, so go figure. 2023, it's got to be Oppenheimer. Again, I know maybe a bit of a generic obvious choice, but for me, I think Oppenheimer, it probably is, prior to the Odyssey anyway, who knows what's going to happen with that, still probably his best film. Just a really just towering achievement. 3-hour R-rated kind of period piece, part biography, part kind of courtroom drama, part war movie that just really just absolutely knocked my socks off. 2024, got to be Sean Baker's Anora. Bit of a tonal change this, but I'm a big Sean Baker fan. Love what he did with, you know, Tangerine, Florida Project, Red Rocket, but Anora for me was his best film. I love this film. Maggie Madison also won the Oscar for Best Leading Actress, and this film I thought was just great. It was my favourite film of 2024, so Anora. And finally, 2025, not going to include 2026 because the year's not over yet, so 2025, last film is going to have to be One Battle After Another, also the Best Picture winner. Sinners 2 has got to be up there, but One Battle After Another for me is like one of the best films we've had the last 10-15 years. Paul Thomas Anderson, one of the best directors working today, but this film, for whatever reason, just really worked for me. It just, like, I found it enthralling. It was like watching something from the 70s or something. Like, it was not like something that you typically get nowadays, and I just feel like he just really knocked it out of the park, and I love this film so much. And there we go, that wraps up my favourite film for each year that I've been alive, from 1995 to 2025. What do you think about my list? What would you say are your favourite films that have been released from each year that you've been alive? Obviously, the older you get, the harder it is to do because the longer the list is, but yeah, I thought I would do this because I remember it going around several years ago, and I thought that would just be a fun thing to do. So there we go, those are my favourite films from 1995 to 2025, my favourite film of each year that I've been alive. So there we go. What did you think about my list? Let me know in the comments down below, and as always, if you like this and you want to see more, be sure to click subscribe to see more. But until then, I'll see you next time.